Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. As expected, the Montana legislature put a wrap on its 2019 session today.
Lawmakers completed their work on the state's two-year budget, passed Medicaid expansion, and approved millions of dollars in public building projects.
But lawmakers say they also left some things undone and still on the table.
MTN's Mike Dennison at the Capitol as the final day unfolded.
The final gavel came down in the Montana House at 3:40 p.m. and the Senate had finished its business an hour before, not long after voting on the final pieces of the state's $10 billion two-year budget. The sponsor of the main budget bill, Republican Representative Nancy Ballance of Hamilton, said it increased state spending only 3.8% over the two-year period and called it a good, hard-fought compromise.
So yes, this is probably not something that everyone loves, but it's probably the best this group could have done.
Big pieces of the budget include the $700 million a year Medicaid expansion program, which provides health coverage to 95,000 low-income adults, hundreds of millions of dollars in building projects, including a new $48 million Historical Society museum, the remodel of Romney Hall on the MSU campus, and local water and sewer projects all over the state. Majority Republicans also touted a number of bills yet to be signed to aid business and the economy, such as a tax abatement to encourage more broadband in rural areas.
It's a laundry list of things we tried to get done, and we got a good many of them accomplished, and now it's up to the governor to see whether or not he would like to come to an agreement on those bills. Obviously, let them become law without his signature or sign them.
Governor Steve Bullock said later he'll examine each bill that comes to his desk, but that some will be vetoed if they bust the budget. Thursday also saw two items that failed to pass: state funding for preschool and language to help Northwestern Energy buy part of the Colstrip 4 power plant. The Colstrip language never made it to committee, and Republicans on a budget panel rejected preschool funding proposals, which Bullock said was a disappointment.
Quality preschool ought not be only for families who can afford it. I do call on our future leaders who will be in these Capitol hallways in 2 years to find a way to get a permanent, publicly funded preschool program done for the state once and for all.
Yet the governor chose to put a positive spin on the work of the 2019 legislature.
At the end of the day, I do think in Montana we continue to be a shining example of how our political system is supposed to work. We've once again demonstrated that we can put partisan politics aside and come together to do right by Montanans.
As one legislative leader said Thursday, no one gets everything they want from this democratic process. But for the most part, lawmakers Thursday focused on what they did accomplish rather than not. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And MTN News will follow up next week with a more detailed look at some of the key proposals approved by the legislature.
Well, Montana Republicans came together in Billings tonight in anticipation of the 2020 elections.
It's a chance for candidates to get their messages to potential supporters. Q2's David J. has more from the Lincoln Reagan dinner. David?
Well, Russ, Jeanelle, Senator Steve Daines says the choice in elections next year will be freedom in capitalism or socialism in big government. The Yellowstone County Republican Party hosted its Lincoln Reagan dinner. Those in office and those running came to the annual fundraiser. And former U.S. Army Ranger and CIA security contractor Chris Tonto Peranto talked about perseverance and being part of the rescue at the U.S. Special Mission in Benghazi, Libya on September 11th, 2012. Senator Daines told the group he supports President Trump and securing the border with Mexico.
One of the fundamental responsibilities we have is secure a southern border. A secure southern border will be a more secure nation. As it relates to Montana, this porous border we have is allowing these Mexican cartels that are making billions of dollars in the drug trade. They're pouring these drugs right into Montana. It's got to stop. And one way to help it is to stop the flood of drugs coming to the southern border and secure that southern border.
Senator Daines says more pure methamphetamine is the main drug coming from Mexico into the U.S. Meanwhile, the Carbon County Republicans' Lincoln Reagan dinner is scheduled at the Joliet Community Center on Friday. Janelle?
All right, thanks so much, David. Well, former Vice President Joe Biden officially announced today he will seek the Democratic nomination for president. CBS News' Nicole Killian has the latest.
Joe Biden rode his favorite train from Washington and ordered pizza in Delaware. And he came out punching on his first day running for the White House. In his campaign announcement, the former vice president took on President Trump for his response to the 2017 violence in Charlottesville, Virginia.
He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. And in that moment, I knew the threat to this nation was unlike any I had ever seen in my lifetime.
The president fired off his own tweet targeting Biden and Democrats. Welcome to the race, Sleepy Joe. I only hope you have the intelligence long in doubt to wage a successful primary campaign. It will be nasty. You will be dealing with people who truly have some very sick and demented ideas. Biden joins 20 other Democrats in the race for the White House, the biggest one-party slate since 1856.
I'm glad that he's in, and he's joining an extraordinary field of candidates with amazing diversity in backgrounds and experience.
Even before he decided to run, Biden faced challenges. 8 women recently have come forward to say interactions with him made them feel uncomfortable. Biden's campaign confirmed to CBS News Thursday that he spoke with Anita Hill about his handling of her harassment accusations against Clarence Thomas during his Supreme Court confirmation hearings in 1991. Hill told the New York Times that, quote, I cannot be satisfied by simply saying I'm sorry for what happened to you. Hill told the newspaper she would not characterize his words as an apology. Nicole Killian, CBS News, the White House.
And Biden will hold his first campaign rally on Monday in Pittsburgh.
It is called the Red Sand Project, a social media campaign looking to bring more awareness to human trafficking.
Well, today in Billings, advocates, survivors, and community leaders gathered to bring the issue out of the darkness. Q2's Samantha Sullivan was there.
Ugly things happen around us every day. Some are things we can see, while others stay hidden in the shadows. Human trafficking is an ugly truth. It's an ugly truth that dozens of people, many of them just kids, are living out here in our community every day. There are groups here in Billings who are working to bring awareness to this growing problem, and on this day, it's education and little red bags of sand to fill the cracks so many vulnerable people have fallen through.
The victims are generally very young children who've been abused. They're foster kids, they're runaways, there's addiction in the family, but sometimes not. It can happen to anyone. The problem is that it hides, and people don't see it, so they don't want to talk about it, and they don't know what's going on.
What's going on is this. 89 self-identified victims of human trafficking in Billings in just the last few years. Many of them are teenagers, kids in vulnerable situations having sex to stay alive. It's happening in our community and right under our noses.
A lot of times they're manipulated and their minds are kidnapped by their trafficker. They don't know that they're a victim.
While each story is different, no horror endured the same as the last. Many victims face the same challenges in realizing they're a victim in the first place and getting the help they need.
It's very hard to rehabilitate a trafficking victim. The only thing we really can do is to lean on the support of our victim services here in Billings. Places like Tumbleweed and the YWCA and Her Campaign and Operation Underground Railroad, they all have the tools to be able to help people who have become victims of abuse.
In Billings, Samantha Sullivan, MTN News.
All right, thank you, Sammy.
And Sammy learned many victims are first trafficked in some way between the ages of 11 and 14. So education about sex trafficking is an important talk to have with your children.
Well, the best in education receiving recognition tonight at the 34th Annual Educator Appreciation Banquet. Billings Education Association gives out several awards. The banquet also honoring retiring teachers, which includes many with more than 30 years, one with 40 years. The most well-known of the BEA awards are the Golden Apple and the Teacher of the Year. And congratulations to all the winners tonight. Mark Kane of McKinley Elementary, Marie Scharf at Miles Avenue Elementary, Joanne Sesterisic of Beartooth Elementary, Jenna Alling, Ben Steele Middle School, Katie Meyer of the Career Center, Laura Peterson of Meadowlark Elementary, and the Billings Education Association Teacher of the Year is Maureen Claybo.
And switching gears to the weather, Bob, when they say April showers bring May flowers, I do not think that means snow showers.
You know what snow showers bring? Snow blowers.
Yes, they do.
Let me show you what we're talking about here. Tonight, here's where we are. Not much going on, just partly cloudy skies across Montana. But tomorrow morning, look at all the rain starting to move into eastern Montana, up in the mountains. That is snow falling up there, folks. And then watch what happens Saturday afternoon. Really, morning is not going to be too bad, partly cloudy skies. Then more rain starts moving in Saturday night. By Sunday, it starts turning to all snow again for the Billings area. Then again on Monday, and again on Tuesday, all snow. Now, all this the numbers we're about to show you, this is how much snow we think we will get out of this thing, but all these numbers are predicated on it all coming down as snow. If some of it comes down as rain, then that 2 to 4 inches of snow will not be quite as much, but we'll have to see. Let's hope we get a little rain mixed in with the snow. That means that stuff you don't even have to shovel it. It'll just kind of eventually melt away. We'll have the rest of your forecast in a few more minutes.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
Well, Metro Park helps bring about $151 million to the local economy, along with more than 2,000 jobs.
Those numbers revealed today with the Metro Park 2018 report. That study by Northwestern Energy, Big Sky Economic Development, and Circle Analytics of Missoula shows Metro's gross economic impact may be as high as $225 million. An 8-week period starting August 2nd brought out more than 275,000 people to the Metro.
Now, during that time, the venue welcomed country music stars Chris Stapleton, Kelly Clarkson, and Luke Bryan, as well as the Wrangler National Team roping finals and President Trump.
Well, Earth's mightiest heroes hit both the silver screen and the streets of Billings.
Marvel fans turned out in force, and many of them in costume at Shiloh 14 Theater ahead of tonight's premiere of Avengers Endgame.
The much-anticipated movie is a culmination of 21 separate films all tied together to end this chapter of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Avengers Endgame predicted as one of the, if not the biggest opening weekends of all time, raking in between $250 to $300 million. Now, that would beat Infinity War, which currently holds the top spot, opening at $257 million.
But this is hardly the end of the Marvel movies. Many of the characters that were introduced along the way have sequels of their own on the way.
Well, coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, fighting MS. Tonight, we meet a Billings woman who watched herself transition from walker to wheelchair, and now she's fighting back.
And later in sports, this weekend's Legion Baseball Hall of Famers share some of their favorite Scarlet's Royal stories with Scott.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.